Welcome to the very last episode of Bridge of Stars. This is number 30. I started this series over a month ago. At first I was doing them daily, and then as things seemed to be easing up, I moved them to every other day or so. So over a month, and this is number 30. But just to say at this point, I have got some other rather lovely ideas for you up my sleeve. I've just purchased a new video camera, and that's inciting me to work in a slightly different way, but to create some more special events for you over the next few weeks. So you'll be hearing about those if you keep an eye on my website and subscribe to it, so you get messages about it. And also you would see them naturally on YouTube. So today I'm going to look at something very slightly different from usual. I'm going to show you a card that is not one of my angel script cards. It is a card from a tarot pack. And this is a tarot pack I'm very fond of using. I've had it for decades now. And it's called the Alchemical Tarot. And I'm afraid it's very, very special, but I'm afraid it's probably not purchasable any longer. But I really like it because, as you know, if you followed my material about the Tree of Life and about the Archangels, I'm very interested and very enthusiastic about continually emphasizing the weaving together of male and female energies, and that's very much the focus of the alchemical process, that male and female intertwined are what brings true enlightenment in the end, the union of opposites. So that's why this is one of my special cards, special card packs. Okay, so I'll just introduce you to this card, and then we'll go from there, right? So you can see the rose on the back. The rose is a big symbol in alchemy for the blossoming, if you like, rather like the lotus is in the Eastern traditions. So here we have Judgment. Okay, so these amazing illustrations done by a man called Robert Place, and he is an amazing illustrator, and he's based them on ancient alchemical illustrations. So what have we here? Okay, so we have a skull and two people rising out of a grave. Now, I think this is really appropriate at the moment because one of the astrological significators of this difficult time is the position of the planet Pluto, the god of the underworld, and how he's united with Jupiter, who's a god of immense expansion, and Saturn, who's a god of restriction and limitation. And many astrologers have noted that 2020 would be a very difficult year. There was a French astrologer in, I think, 2011 who actually predicted a pandemic. So that gives the lie to an article which incidentally was issued in the New York Times a couple of weeks back, where they declared, the coronavirus would kill off astrology because clearly the astrologers had not predicted this pandemic. And the only astrologer that they interviewed was a New York astrologer who's well known for her sun sign columns. So they did not do any research because we do have records of astrologers saying 2020, very difficult, likely a pandemic. And those predictions were based on the configuration that we have been going through of Pluto with two other weighty planets, very weighty planets. So Pluto is the god of the underworld. He's the god of destruction. God of creation. So in archangelic system, he would be the Metatron. In Hinduism, he would be like Shiva. So in order to create something, everything has to be taken down and taken apart. And we can see that then regeneration begins, because there are the three sheaves of wheat, three sprites of wheat, I should say, growing out of the skull. And the man and the woman are rising up from their graves. They are being summoned by the angel. And the angel is most likely the Archangel Gabriel with his trumpet, calling at the judgment day, saying, wake up, you human beings. Stop sleeping. Stop behaving as though you are just creatures of the earth, because you're not. You are also divine. So this summons is something that we should be listening to every day of our life, irrespective of coronavirus, actually. But now, collectively, the human beings are being summoned to wake up. We have the pandemic, we have the racism, we have the climate change. What are we up to? We are not living into our fulfilled possibility of being divine and human creatures on this planet. And this is a message we've been given over many, many generations, that that is possible. And that we don't have to march unconsciously into our own self-destruction. This is an existential issue, and everybody should be working on it. And when I say existential, I don't mean in the way of the old existential philosophers who are saying, oh, you've got to discover who you are, why you're here, deal with your angst. It's not that, it's existence, actual existence for the human species. So how are we going to move towards that? We meditate. We give the space to listen to what Carl Jung called the spirit of the depths. The spirit of the depths is the voice that speaks within us, that calls to us. You could call it your guardian angel, your daimon, your genius, whatever name you want to use for it, it doesn't matter. That is the bridge between you and the divine, between you and God, if you're happy to use that word. It doesn't matter what words you use for this. But it bridges the space between your extra human life, exterior human life, and what is within. And we've got to do that. Collectively, more people have to do that. So it's meditate, meditate, meditate. It's an obligation. It's an obligation for yourself personally, and an obligation for you as part of the collective. We need to explore inner space, not outer space. That's a waste of time, waste of money, it's an escape, as Carl Jung put it. And otherwise we rush headlong off the edge of a cliff, not off the edge of a bridge. Let's go back to our bridge metaphor. We are walking across the bridge. Perhaps the spirit of the depths is like a troll underneath, but the troll is only a creature or a being who's not acknowledged and recognized as being powerful, and his power will gather. And then, with the god from the underworld, he will rise up. Biff, baff, boff. Make sure you listen to what is going on in that depth. So exploring the depth of your own being, however you want to do that, is essential. And Carl Jung compared that with a spirit of the times, by which he meant, as I understand it, the time that you're living in. And that may require you to listen to the needs of career, making money, holding your body and soul together, paying your mortgage, having your family, all those things that are significant for living a human life, They are governed by the spirit of the times. However, you can't live only by the spirit of the times. The spirit of the depths must be attended to. And it's not impossible for them both to collaborate for what you do in the world to earn your living and be productive and, have the monthly check or whatever. It quite often, for some people, could be that they work together, but so often they don't. So often, most people feel that there's a divorce between what is necessary in the outside world and what their heart, their soul is calling them for. However, you can work inwardly and start very gently uncovering different ways to work. Meditate, meditate, meditate. This is why I teach meditation. I teach something called the Shefa method, and that might work for you. You may choose some other path, but the Shefa method encourages you to get into that depths. It gives you a meditation technique which will take you there, and it gives you tools for developing a life that you love, a life that is full of joy and blessings and abundance. That's what it's designed to help you with. And furthermore, if you do go down that path, I can teach you a Shefa healing method as well, which is something I'm planning for next year. But this isn't intended to be a commercial. I'd love to encourage you to come and work with me. I should welcome you with open arms. But it's just a call to say, do something. Do something to listen to that. Don't allow the spirit of the times to engage you so heavily that there is no space for the other spirit, for the spirit of the depths. And as we're coming perhaps towards what feels like it might be the end of this bridge, and we can see ahead, what can we see? What do we hope for? What do we want? Can we dream a new vision? So I'm going to close this again with somebody different. I'm not going to quote from the Bridge of Stars. I'm going to quote you from a very remarkable man. He was a botanist. He's no longer with us. He died quite an early death. And he said about himself that originally he was quite a materialist. And then he started to use a drug called DMT, which is very well attested as being a pretty safe mind-altering drug. It's called an entheogen. That means it invites the divine into your mind. Theo means God. And he was very experienced in these journeys, very what you would generally describe as psychedelic journeys. And he was a delightful character, and he just seemed to be channeling new ways of experiencing the world. His name was Terence McKenna, and you can find out more about him on the internet. He was a friend of Rupert Sheldrake, the biologist, and the pair of them had lots of conversations about this, because Rupert Sheldrake himself is quite a spiritual man, a spiritual scientist, we could say, and they had some interesting conversations about what goes on when you change your mind in these different ways. So this is the quote from Terence, which I think is a very special way to end this series. I printed it out in large print on a piece of white paper, which I keep in one of these plastic things that I used to use for my events. And that means I can have it standing up in the kitchen on the side, and it just catches my eye as I walk through to make a cup of tea. And I think that it's just a great message that I would love to give you. So here it comes. Nature loves commitment. Nature loves courage. You make the commitment, and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Nature removes impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream, and the world will not grind you under, it will lift you up. This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and the philosophers who really counted, the ones who really touch the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. This is the shamanic dance in the waterfall. This is how magic is done. By hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering it's a feather bed. So if you see the end of the bridge ahead of you as a void or an abyss, which is scary because it's unknown, be not afeared. Hurl yourself into the abyss. Trust in the divine, and you will be lifted up. You will find a feather bed.